So buying and selling of shares was never really a new thing in Botswana. You could always say to somebody, "Hey, can I leave these shares at Sefalana or Stock Exchange?" And you'd advertise or anywhere you could put it up and say, "I have this shares." Then you'd work out how you can exchange. They can exchange hands and maybe find out who can assist with pricing of those shares and the likes. And that's why transfer secretaries like PwC, Grant Thornton always existed. Now, with time, then obviously there was stockbrokers Botswana as a broker. Of course, there was a broker before there was a Botswana Stock Exchange. So stockbrokers did do the business of buying and selling shares on the behalf of people. Then, over time, also stockbrokers as an entity did host Botswana Stock Exchange and guided them on how to have the entity. And obviously, as an act of government, we then had Botswana Stock Exchange, who is now responsible for all the buying and selling of all those listed entities in Botswana. Mind you, there are other shares that you can still buy and sell that are not listed on Botswana Stock Exchange. It's not many of them, but obviously this should reflect to people that these are basically just companies. Say, some of them are listed, some of them are not listed, but the buying and selling of shares is pretty much the same throughout. This is that the exchange obviously helps with price discovery and obviously efficiency, reporting. You don't want to be dealing with I'll give you an example. FSG was a listed company, still making profits for shareholders out there, but it's not listed now. They delisted. So if something was to happen to the company, you might not know because they're not listed, but it doesn't mean they're a bad company or they're not making profits. So the exchange sort of solved most of these problems for people. Then within the stock exchange, obviously the CSD. Now, instead of share certificates anymore, everything goes through the CSD. Everything is electronic. They still have share certificates. You can now encourage them to approach brokers to essentially just demat those shares so that everything can be held in electronic form. So at any point, you can ask for your balance statements, study shares. So just like you could ask banker for your bank statement. So that addresses the CSD part. Now, when you approach a broker, they will give you a CSD form to fill in. And once you've done that, you'll then be you fill the form. Then obviously there are regulations beyond the form, your CSD. There are financial regulations, FIA regulations, where you have to be known. Everyone who handles people's investments or monies or finances, they have to thoroughly know the person. So that's where the KYC comes. That's where KYC is needed. So your KYC would basically be KYC stands for Know Your Client, basically. So it's documents or proofs that you are who you are. And it's usually in three forms. It's in knowing if the person is earning or could earn as much as they are bringing to the market. It's knowing where the person stays, and it's knowing who they are in the form of ID. So this addresses things. Once you get the CSD form, you fill it in. I don't know if I can share my screen here. Let me see if I can share screen. Yeah, please do notify me if you can see what I'm showing. So essentially, you would have something like this. Let me.
Yes.
Yes, this will be the CSD form. If you can see it, then that's basically there. Then it might look cumbersome, but it's not. So you basically fill in the parts about your names there, your surname, your gender. All these are things you have at the fingertip. at your fingertips: your country, your residence, your telephone, your fax, and your email. Then obviously we don't encourage joint accounts anymore. So you skip the joint applicant part, then you come to dividend disposal instruction. You fill in your bank name, your branch, then your account number. That's a very important step because most times when you ask for people's bank details, but it doesn't work like that. Your finances are intact. So this is important because it's where your dividends are going to be paid. Every company that you ever buy shares into is always going to look for this information. Whenever they pay, whether you buy a bond or whatever, whenever they pay, they go into the CSD platform and look for bank details. So if you put them correctly, that's where you're going to be getting your dividends paid into. Remember, your dividends are paid to you. So if you have understood or you've gone through people like money managers or me, Stocksman, Ganaboaho has taught you, you'd know that it's very important to reinvest your dividends. But you get them, then you pay them back to your broker and send proof of payment and say, buy this book. So this will be the first form, obviously. Then your KYC. Your KYC, once again, please don't forget, it's your ID, then it's your proof of residence. Proof of residence can be a utility bill in your name. You know, if you have a Wi-Fi, telecoms or whatever, as long as it has your name and your address, it will show for a motor. So that will be good enough. Then your proof of income. The proof of income, generally we know, especially with insurance, they've always done it this way. It's always been your payslip. So it still is it can be your payslip, but I usually just encourage people to do things differently. I mean, a confirmation letter will be good enough. I'm hearing some echo, but yeah, a confirmation will be good enough. Or instead of
Sir. Sir, Mr. Raume, can you please try to mute your mic? Yes,
thank you. That's totally fine. Yes, I was gonna say, you can still just bring your ID and confirmation letter. So a confirmation letter would cover both residence and proof of earning. It will essentially, if it comes, this is Boafo, he works here at this entity, and he stays at this plot number. So in a letterhead, it's usually good enough to provide proof of both earnings and where you stay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a document that says Motoa Mohalabuka. But obviously, with time, remember FIA requires this. With time, if you start investing 5,000 or 10,000, 20,000, then out of the blues you bring $1 million, then more KYC will be needed. Then proof of that will be required as well. Lest you start washing money through the exchange. So that will be that. If you can bring an employment confirmation letter that shows you work here and you stay at this place, it covers both those two documents, and the only other thing you will need to provide will be your ID. And in the absence, for somebody who doesn't work, for instance, you can just go to the police or any commission of oath and write, my name is this, and I stay at this place, and I don't work, but my earnings are this and this and this. I earn this way, and I'm a pensioner in this regard. So that helps in actually being able to profile the person. This person, high investor 10,000, it's in line with their earnings and stuff like that. That's not to push you away from the exchange. So perhaps just to recap on this, is this form your CSD? Is the KYC that we address, or it can be either an affidavit or a proof, a confirmation letter or payslip in your name. Then there will be a third thing. This also is required by the regulator. It's usually just a form. It's repetitive in nature. It will be a form that requires your details. The same details you put up on CSD form, you still put them on yours. sorry, on the one year the broker. That will be the third form. Then that third form, like I said, it's repetitive, and you don't have to worry about filling every part of the form. You just fill it as best as you can. But obviously, the most important parts will be where you stay, your contact details, your names, and stuff like that. So it will be that broker form. It's unique to each broker, Imara, stockbrokers, and Motredi. Then it will be that form. It will be the CSD form. It will be the KYC, which includes your ID. Then as soon as you forward to your broker and either they keep quiet or they respond to say everything is in order, you can consider your account open. It usually just takes a day or two for CSD to then authorize it. Then, but the moment you send it, you can. I've never heard of anyone who submitted everything at him down. It's not one of those. So once you've done that, everything goes to CSD. They authorize that, but as soon as you submit, you can start, doing the process of buying and selling. Basically, deposit the money into your into your broker's bank account, and sending them an instruction for which shares are you buying. So it's that easy when it comes to opening accounts. Then if you need confirmation again, brokers would you need to be proactive in actually calling and finding out where things are. But I can confidently tell you for after submitting, you can consider everything done. Should anything be missing, they will still come back to you and say, but like I said, the process is that easy. Healthy the part primary applicant, the dividend disposal, that's more than enough. So uh, that will be the process. I don't know. I was gonna perhaps give an example with mine because again, like I said, those are my full names there. Uh, I prefer to just be known as Toxman now, but basically this will be that, and this would show somebody opened this account. My account was old anyway, but here I update the KYC and opening with another broker, which is another thing. This process, once you do it with one broker, and at some point you feel like you have to go to another broker, you do the same process. The account number won't change, but you do the process with another broker. Then you can still have accounts with all the three brokers. It's not advisable, but nothing stops you from doing that. And regulations are coming that such that for a very long time, all accounts openings and everything have been free. But in future, you'll be paying for this because it's a lot of admin on the broker side. So if you can pay whatever fee would be, say for instance, if they say 100 kula per year per annum for an account, then you just know that if you can pay 300 kula, you can still maintain accounts with all three brokers. I'm not trying to suggest there's an advantage with doing that, but I'm trying to show you, for say, for instance, you bought with another company, with another broker, and you had to move to another broker. Your shares are still intact. They are still all held with CSD. Unfortunately, because CSD doesn't send statements anymore. Like they stopped last year when they introduced the new system. So if you're looking for balances, you might have to contact each broker individually to say, show me where my balances are so far. But as long as they send you a contract note after buying or a contract note after selling, you still have an idea of where your records are. I noticed that time is flying and people are going to have a limited time to ask, but I think I've covered pretty much everything there is about accounts. It's basically the CSD form, the broker sort of form, KYC, which includes your ID. That's the process of opening accounts. So I think at this point, Guaho, perhaps you could take it back and maybe, I don't know, maybe open for questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very, very much. I believe Kore, we've had and learned something, and some of you also told me Kore, you had questions, and I believe you had more questions than Kore. Maybe you haven't told me yet that you have. So the floor is yours for those who have questions. I believe you'll be concerning this or just a general question about the shares and investing. So yeah, the floor is yours, guys.
I think go mention we can buy from unlisted companies, or maybe I can present, but I wanted to confirm what that meant exactly.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I did mention that. Uh, Here's the thing, ne? We highly encourage people to buy through the exchange because remember, you are protected. Business Businesses can soar or they can fall any day, but if you are buying from outside, then you are on your own. You could buy from a reputable entity. Let's give an example. Let's say Stanbic. Stanbic is a very good business that by all means it should be listed, but it's not listed. Let's say you get an opportunity to buy shareholding there and you buy. It's purely on you to keep following back on them to say, are you learning the results? Are you making profits? Are you paying dividends? As compared to listed companies where the stock exchange and its brokers are basically doing that for you, where they follow up on a lot of stuff, and everything has to be transparent. Otherwise, they kick the company out to protect the investor. But like you said, you are right. There are companies, if you are in the know, that allow you to invest in them. Uh, Listed. And one of them, for instance, you can still approach a broker, for instance. We have a company called KYS. KYS is also called yeah. So that company just basically invests in what's this thing? It has shareholding more abide. So they basically invest in that. Then they bring shareholding where people can actually invest in. And you can still we still have people who come every you can still do that. I mean, before COVID, hospitality industry was doing well and people could actually make a lot of profits or get a lot of dividends from that company. Invest more Avani. They have shareholding in Avani. So some of them we would know about them and might facilitate. The process goes back to the period before we had CSD where the share certificate the exchange at the hands. But yeah, you are right. To answer you, you can stop buying companies that are not listed, but you need to unearth that information somehow.
Okay, thank you. I think I have one last question here. It's to confirm that the waiting period after first submitting my forms and perhaps say my account has been opened and I have bought, where I have to wait for 3 months before I can have my returns.
Sorry, the question again?
Like how long does it take after my account has been opened?
Okay,
Returns.
here is what happened. I usually, like I said, in my page in Stocksman, I teach people to look at shares long term. I'll also be having a webinar. Sorry, Gaho, I'm not advertising on your platform, but
No,
I'll also
no
be having
stress. You can do that.
a webinar tomorrow that's more detailed than this. So, uh, so essentially, with shares, you submit a form today. You send a form to your broker and say, "These are my forms, everything," and right away you can deposit funds into the account they gave you and tell them which companies you want to buy. That's the process. Pretty much there's no waiting period when it comes to that. But there's going to be a process where the broker then goes into the market to buy shares for you. Shares are not just there in the stock exchange. Shares are in people. Remember when a company lists, it does an IPO. An IPO is where people are allowed to buy shares before a company lists. So after the IPO, all the shares are held in people, either the directors of the company or just individual investors like you. So after you put the money and tell the client or the broker or shares they go into the market and look for those shares. Those shares are found up more but and that's why price keeps changing. Because then a lot of price in the 470. I go market and somebody saying natsa me ke di tsamaisa ka 472 kana ha re di lwela because I sit on the trading desk ha re ntse re di lwela mo marketing yana e be go itshupa gore you know what there's too much demand. uh, the price moves. But then the waiting period might be, they might take a day or two to get the shares. They might take weeks. Sometimes they can take months. There's no time period to it. But when you're talking returns, the returns are totally up to you. You can bring your last 1 million pula or 100,000 and say, buy me those shares. Bo romelwa contract note go teng re go reketse di-shares today. 3 working days later di tla di le mo CSD. That's settlement. E be re 3 working days later be go teng go na le mathata go gae. A le gore wena o ne o tsere madi a investment a gago o a dira investment, you then be forced to perhaps sell your shares without worry. So there's no waiting period. When you sell, when you buy, it's entirely up to you. How much you buy, how much you sell, it's entirely up to you. But then to realize returns are in two forms. It's usually the price growth. Price growth can take forever. Then for the first 6 months, the price ya go 180. Then after that, if you go so that one, there's no time frame to it. How about the dividends? Dividends, it's usually they are usually paid biannually. So it could be most companies go into close period January. So after January, they have 3 months to actually disclose their results and declare dividends if they made profits. And remember, most companies do pay dividends twice. Some pay once, and a few might not pay at all. But notice that dividend is part of the profit that's declared. Companies that do a profit, they might not declare a dividend. It's not a must. It's just that they usually almost always pay dividend, and almost always is twice. So there's no time frame to anything.
Okay,
Okay. I'll try to be very brief with the next few answers. Sorry, with the next few questions because of time. Yeah. Any more questions?
I've got a question, sir.
Yeah.
With my CSD account, can I use it as maybe like a wallet? For instance, if I say I want to put money in the CSD account, but I'm not sure which shares I want to buy specifically, can I continually put in, let's say, 2,000 pula per month for 3 months and then do my own research? When I'm sure of the shares that I want to buy, then say, contact my broker and say I want to buy maybe FNB shares for 6,000?
Yes and no. So that's a brilliant question. I like that because I set out to help people invest, and those are the questions I really like. So yeah, the only part you didn't get it right is the CSD. Remember CSD ke banka ya stock exchange. So yone house di shares in electronic form, di shares hela. So but the account that you have yo ka tsenya madi ke ya broker. So once you submit all those forms, you will account at a pay. Ya CSD e leng gore e hola di shares hela, then go na le a broker ya bontshang your transactions gore even history gore o reka o rekisa yang ke yone o deposita mo go yone. So your broking account is the one way you can actually, like you're asking, just put money into it. And remember, you still have to we can't assume gore gongwe wa laundera madi. As soon as you deposit money into the account, you send the proof of payment to your broker, and perhaps mention gore you will follow back with an instruction on what to buy. So it doesn't have to be an instruction right away. You can actually go another month and another month, but always give a reason to say I'll follow up with an instruction on what to buy. You know what I mean? So like this saying, you can keep putting 1,000. I lower my 250, 1,000, 10,000. Very unnecessary. That's when you give an instruction to say now you can buy me FNB shares, or now you can divide this money between BTC, Sechava, and Cefalan. Such instructions, they're entirely up to you. It was a good question. I hope I answered it.
Thank you.
Any other? Looks like we covered very well. Any other question?
Hello, Ray. Is there anybody else? Okay, if there's no there's no one else who has a question, I believe we've wrapped up everything, or should I say, we talked about everything we needed to cover during this meeting. And I thank you for coming, Mr. Maja. And like I said, thank you, and I apologize for misgendering you again. And also, please, guys, I believe Wonale Facebook page. I follow him on his Facebook page, and if you are interested, you can also follow him. And like Abua, he has an upcoming webinar. It's tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow
Yes,
5
yes,
5 5 p.m.
yes.
The information will be there on the page. And again, I have to apologize if I hijacked your platform to mention that. But
No, no, no problem. You are completely allowed to do that.
yeah,
And
okay.
and yes, go follow him, guys. It's there, and you can also attend his webinar. And if he has future webinars in his plans, you can also attend those if you are not able to attend this one. And yeah, you can also follow my Facebook page as well. Yeah, yeah, Power Rocket, and also my newsletter, which I talk about things like investing, and it's really about my journey and what I've discovered and everything else. So yeah, I believe that's it. That's all that we need to cover. And I'm also recording this webinar. Get listen, or maybe I can upload on my YouTube and send the link through the page. And anybody you want and everybody here, I can send you the link more emailing, and also those ba leng gore ne ba rile ba batla go tla but they could not. So thank you. That's the end of the webinar. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks for having me personally. Bye, bye, Gab.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, everyone. Sure.
Oh, no, I was scared.